What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This? This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, then we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10 and either build them or fix them depending on how they rank. Now today we're finishing up our talk on the Spores Druid, and more specifically, we have to fix it because it did not quite meet our ranking standards when we rated it earlier this week. So I always enjoy these, being able to throw a little bit of homebrew in there just to improve these subclasses a little bit. And so if you're excited to see just what I have cooked up for this subclass, go ahead and leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. As you can see, most people who watch this channel are not subscribed, so please don't be one of those people. Help us to reach our goal of 2,000 by the end of this year. We are on track, but I need your help to get there. Of course, make sure to share the video with your friends and click the bell so you're notified when new videos are uploaded. So the Spores Druid got a subpar ranking, right? It was not a terrible ranking by any means. So by no means am I saying that this subclass is terrible, that you should never play it as written, anything like that. But it does need some minor tweaks here and there in order to make it a little bit more usable and to put it more on the ranks of an 8 or a 9 out of 10, which is kind of the sweet spot of where I like to get these things to in the long run. So let's see what I have in store for today. Of course, the document that I am looking at today, I've put down in the description below for you to check out and let me know what you think. Of course, this is all work in progress type stuff, so I am all for any kind of feedback. That's what the comment section is for, so hit me up down there. For our circle spells, first of all, I did not change anything. I think all of them actually make a lot of sense with the theming of the fungal kind of energy from nature. I think it makes total sense what's there. No reason to change it, so off to a good start. We will not be saying that about any of the other features. I changed something, at least a little bit of something, on every single other part of this, and so we'll just have to see how that goes. So starting off with our halo of spores, it is still a 10-foot radius around you. I clarified that it's a sphere. It's implied that way. It says when it moves into a space within 10 feet of you. I think that wording can be misconstrued a little bit. I just said a 10-foot sphere just to be a little more clear, but it's the same thing essentially. And then when it's 10 feet of you, you may deal your 1d4 necrotic damage, and of course it still scales up. The only difference here is that it will eventually scale to 30 feet at level 10, and it no longer uses your reaction. To me, this is not enough damage for me to burn my reaction on. It's just not, right? This is a nice little way to deal a little bit of chip, nickel and diming an enemy here and there, but overall it's not going to make a huge difference. Even when we get up to the 1d10, we don't get that until level 14. That's very late, right? And you could roll a 1. Yes, you could also roll a 10, but overall, I don't think the damage here is that impressive, and I don't think bumping the damage is the way to go here. I think adding frequency rather than amount of damage in one go is the way to balance this out, at least in my opinion. Next up, symbiotic entity. We kind of changed this a little bit. Number one, we lowered the amount of temporary HP that you get. I thought you said you were buffing this, Dapper. What are you doing? Yes, I'm lowering this because I felt that the other changes that I made to it might have made this a little too strong. So we're kind of balancing this out a little bit. So we're down to 3 per level. That's close to what it was. When you deal your damage, you roll an extra die and deal that damage. That's great. Your melee weapons deal an extra 1d6 of damage. I have that increasing to 2d6 at level 10. Level 10 is a big level for us, obviously. And the biggest change here at the very end, this benefits last a number of minutes equal to your proficiency bonus or until you use wild shape again. No longer is this tied to how many temporary HP that you have, because that temporary HP goes super quickly, right? So by shortening the duration, which I still think a number of minutes equal to proficiency bonus is plenty, doing this instead of the 10 minutes, I think is a great way to balance that out a little bit, and taking it off of that is going to make this so much more handy and so much more just useful, right? You're not going to be afraid to be up there and use your melee weapon to deal that extra damage. You don't have to be afraid to be that mid to front liner that this druid kind of wants to be, and this just gives you that freedom to be able to move around. I think that's better that way, and I mean, you're still going to be somewhat frail. Like, it is what it is. You know, you're not the frailest thing out there, but you're also not the tankiest. So you're still going to be taking some damage. I'd rather you still get your benefit here overall. and not feel bad every time you miss a few HP. At level 6, we get Fungal Infestation, and here we changed the zombie quite a bit. Number 1, the zombie only got 1 HP before. I think that's trash. I don't think that's enough. And the thing is, zombies really don't have that much HP anyway, so why not just give them their normal amount of HP, right? You don't have to buff it, just give them the normal amount of HP. Once you get to higher levels, that's 1 hit easy, right? And their AC is super low, so that's also a problem. So here is what I have done. We have buffed this zombie specifically, and so whenever a creature is within your halo of spores, not necessarily just within 10 feet of you, but within your halo of spores, you can cause it to stand up by still using your reaction. I do think that this is worth using a reaction, but I think that it's still a really nice feature. We've buffed the zombie in a number of ways. Number 1, it gets a bonus to its AC equal to your proficiency bonus. Listen, it currently has an AC of what, 8? Okay, we got it up to level 14. We got it up to an AC of 14 by the time we're level 20. Big deal. It's not, right? That's gonna be a non-issue for the most part. I really don't think that's gonna be a problem. Its slam attack is going to deal a little bit of extra damage equal to a proficiency bonus. Nothing crazy. It already doesn't do that much damage. Your proficiency bonus isn't gonna make a huge deal. It's just a little bit of extra to help that on. What is transformative though, and what might be a little too much, and I'd love to know what you think in the comments. The zombie now gains advantage on its Constitution saving throw to activate its Undead Fortitude feature as long as it is within the halo of spores. I really like this feature, but it might be a little strong. It might be a little strong. Just being able to have something that becomes virtually unkillable could end up being a problem. Obviously, this does not scale well. As you're taking more and more damage, this is going to get worse and worse and worse. But at 6th level, this could end up being a bit of an issue. So let me know what you think of this one. I'm on the fence on this one entirely. The rest of this works exactly the same as before. We didn't change anything else, just that. And I'm a little on the fence on how I feel about level 6. Level 10, spreading spores. This is how we can throw our spores around. We've changed this a little bit. So obviously what I've written earlier is that we have an increased range of 30 feet now that we are level 10. However, now we can throw a little bit of it somewhere else besides us. How's that gonna work? Well, as a bonus action, we can still throw this 30 feet away. The area that we throw it to is now a 30-foot cube rather than a 10-foot cube. However, it also shrinks the area around us down to the original 10 feet. I think that's a good way to balance it. You're back where we started, right? We're back as if it didn't happen as far as what's around us anyway. But it gives you a lot more area to work with elsewhere, right? You've already got things like Fairy Fire. You've already got things like, there are tons of people who are casting spells that are dealing a 30-foot radius, whatever, a cube, anything like that. Why can't we have our Halo of Spores dealing nickel and dime damage once per turn in this, right? I don't see it as a big deal personally. I think this is fine. Again, this does not use your reaction, so the extra wording of you can't use your reaction at the same time, that's gone because it doesn't make any sense. And it's still a con save, right? Ultimately, Constitution saving throws are going to be some of the best saving throws for monsters. The worst for us. So they're going to pass this saving throw a lot of the time anyway, and that's kind of where the balance is. I considered making it a wisdom saving throw just because you are trying to resist maybe the like psychedelic nature of the mushrooms, if that's kind of what your vibe wants to be. These having like a necrotic kind of thing makes me feel a little bit differently about it, like they may not be psychedelics, but I could definitely see that being a flavor point of a character that you build. But to me, I think Constitution just makes more sense, and that's just a really bad saving throw to target. So ultimately, I still don't think this is too powerful, being able to do this more often. It's just, I think it's fine. In addition though, we can also raise zombies that are within either of our areas, as long as it is within our Halo of Spores, whether it is around us or if it is the area that we have thrown it. I think that's also important, right? Now we do have to see it if it is in that area away from us, right? Originally it is just, we can feel it around us. You didn't necessarily have to see it. With this one, we do need to see it because I think that makes more sense. But ultimately, I still think this is a buff, being able to as you're nickel and diming, if something goes down, whether it's your fault or not, you can pick that back up. And maybe you have somebody on you, that next turn comes around, you get your reaction back, you can pop that next one up, and you've got flexibility across the battlefield that way. I think that's really nice and really adds to this kit as we're getting to later levels. At level 14, we get Fungal Body, and I didn't take away any of the awesome buffs that we got before. However, I wanted to throw in a little bit of something as an homage to the original writing of this subclass, and so we now get a +2 to our AC as long as we retain the temporary HP given to us by our symbiotic entity. I like having a feature that is based on that, but I don't want it to be so detrimental that we lose out on an entire feature, right? With this, we lose out on an AC bonus. Ultimately, this isn't going to make or break a game, right? It doesn't buff your saving throws, so this can all still be knocked off of you. It just helps you with some AC, which druids struggle with AC sometimes. And so I think this is totally fine. It can be knocked off, you're easier to kill as you get higher level. And so I think that that ends up being a much more comprehensive kit than what we had before. So that is all for today. Let me know what you think down below. I love doing these videos and getting to hear your all's opinions down below as, well, this might be a little too strong. Well, you could go a little further with this. I love those discussions because ultimately this is an opinion piece. It's not been play tested, so I need you all to give me your opinion. I love hearing from all of you in the comments, and so I expect to see all of you down there later on. Now, next week, we are on our second to last druid before we move on. There are not that many druids to cover, so we're moving on pretty quickly. Next week is the Spores Druid. Then we've got the Wildfire Druid, which I'm especially excited to talk about. Love that. And then we move on to the next class on our list. So I am very excited to be moving on through this list. I hope you guys are as well. If you haven't liked the video and subscribed already, make sure you do that. Until next time, stay safe out there, stay healthy. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.